Ladies and gentlemen, this guy just hit Challenger in Korea, the hardest server in the world, playing Fiddlesticks mid only and just popping off every single game. As you can see, even has insane CS numbers in some games, 7.5, 9.2, 8.8 CS per minute as Fiddlesticks mid. And he's doing this against the best players in the world and some of the best one-tricks as well. As you can see here, he played against OnZ, who is a very popular Z1 trick in Korea. So in this video I want to be showing you how exactly he does this. I'm going to be going over his item builds, his runes, his summoner spells, and at the end I will review his gameplays so you can emulate this gameplay yourself and pull it off in your own games. First, let's take a look at his runes and his summoner spells. From what I've seen, he runs Comet every single game in mid lane, only making changes to his secondary rune pages depending on the enemy matchup. The sorcery page will always remain unchanged. You will take Comet, Mana Flow Band, Transcendence and Scourge. Secondary, he really loves to take Precision versus any melee matchups. The rune changes of the last few patches made Domination and Inspiration lose a lot of value and Precision a lot better. His preferred runes of choices in the Precision tree are Absorb Life and Last Stand. You can also swap out Absorb Life for Presence of Mind if you need the mana. Usually, Legend Haste would also be a very good option for Fiddle mid, but unfortunately, if you take Legend Haste, your Q Fear gets bugged out, so do not take this rune until this bug has been patched. The other secondary rune page he likes to run versus range matchups is the Resolve tree, with Revitalize and Bone Plating, which is very standard for Fiddle and gives you a lot of synergy with your kit and adds a lot of survivability. In some games he however likes to run Second Wind over Bone Plating and Overgrowth instead of Revitalize. In rare cases he takes Inspiration secondary when he runs Cleanse in matchups like Zoe or TF, and then he runs Cosmic Insight and Biscuits. As a bonus I wanted to include Electrocute with Precision secondary, which he used to take versus melee matchups a few months ago, but he has stopped now. But Electrocute is getting a big early game buff in the next patch, so I think it will be viable again. So if you want to be taking this tree, then you have to take Electrocute, Taste of Blood, Eyeball Collection, Ultimate Hunter, and secondary you either take Absorb Life or Presence of Mind with Cutdown. What's also very interesting to look at is his choice in rune shards. In scaling matchups, which is the majority of his matchups in his games, he loves to run only one Adaptive 4 shard and 2 scaling HP shards. This is even better if you couple it with Overgrowth in the Resolve tree. In some games I've even seen him run the movement speed shard instead, in order to get onto the enemy better and move around the map faster. In very snowbally matchups, he likes to run double Adaptive 4 shard plus the flat HP shard, which gives him the greatest amount of early game power. As for summoner spell choice, it seems to be going like this. Around 90% of the time he runs TP, which is incredibly consistent and great for laning, and also very nice to have for later stages of the game. 9% of time he runs Ignite instead, versus any melee assassin matchups where there's a lot of high early game kill pressure and a lot of snowball potential. So matchups like this include Katarina, Zed, Fizz, etc. And then 1% of time he runs Cleanse versus very specific matchups such as Zoe, because it can completely change the way of the matchup. Next, let's take a look at his item builds. What I've noticed is he always loves to rush his boots first, which means either Sorks or Lucidity boots. I would say around 95% of his games he goes Sorks, because they're just the best boots for Fiddlesticks in general, and your damage is really high, or he goes Lucidity boots when he wants more utility instead of damage. He will then make a choice between either Blackfire Torch or Liandry. Most of his games he seems to be skipping Blackfire Torch and just going straight up Liandry, which is by far one of the best item choices for Fiddlesticks in general. Those item chapters are not mandatory since Mana Flow Band gives enough mana sustain and your mana costs are not that high in general. In some games, however, he does like to build Blackfire Torch first instead. My assumption here is that he wants the ability haste and mana sustain against certain matchups, or the enemy team comp is really squishy, which means Liandry will have less value. So he will build Blackfire Torch first and then Liandry secondary, when there's more HP in the game. He will then build a magic penetration item, so he has the choice between either Void Stuff or Crypt Bloom, depending on how much MR the enemy has. Afterwards he built a defensive item, which will be either Zhonya's or Banshees. Next he has a bunch of different options for items. He will rarely get to this point, but usually his items can be either Shadow Flame, Horizon Focus, Banshees or Zhonya's if you haven't built it yet, or Morellos. If you're really ahead and really snowballing, then you can also build the Rabadons. What's also very important to notice is he rarely ever builds control wards. He builds at most 2 in a game, but usually it's between 0 or 1. So how does he actually play? If I had to summarize his playstyle into 3 words, it would be consistency is key. In his early game, he starts thinking about the game in the loading screen already. The most important things you should look at is the enemy team comp and decide what items you're gonna need. So will you be building Leandri or Blackfire? Will you be needing Sonias or Banshees, etc. You also have to keep track of the enemy CC abilities for mid and jungle. If you get ganked and you want to be pulling off your ult, you have to keep track of their CC. And also very important mobility spells, for example a Quirky W or ZW, if they waste them you can punish them. He always starts E level 1 and pokes the enemy whenever he goes for a last hit, and he will keep doing this until he's level 6. You go W level 2 and you can also take W level 3 against melee matchups. Against melee matchups in general, you always gonna be punishing them whenever they step up to last hit, and you can also use your W to trade and push at the same time. Against range matchups it's a bit trickier, you have to look to poke with your E, and if they ever step up too much you can punish them with your W as well. After level 6 you can just look to collapse the fights if the wave is fully pushed and you have a lot of time, or to match the enemy mid roaming. You also have to be very careful with enemy support roams, because the higher elo you go, the more often will a support roam into mid lane. You can use minions and camps to heal up as well. In the mid game he farms up in side lane and he never leaves side lane. He doesn't even move mid, he just stays in the side lane, and he will always threaten the enemy side laner with very weird ult angles and try to catch them off guard. He only ever moves to his team if there's a Drake or Baron fight coming up, and he also keeps his TP in case a big fight breaks out. In the late game he will just push out side lanes and then move mid and group with his team. He needs to be early with his team in order to set up vision and get really good positions around important objectives. He can be a huge menace to the enemy team by playing hide and seek, and his main goal is to be a huge menace to the enemy team by playing hide and seek and finding that one ult angle that will decide the game for you. Okay, well let's jump right into the VOD review. So this game is a little bit sped up, it's like on 1.5 speed right now, if you're wondering why it's so, everything is moving so fast. And I actually found this replay on YouTube. So Fiddlesticks is his old account from like 3 months ago. That's also why he's running Electrocute, if you're wondering. Because he used to run Electrocute, he doesn't run it anymore, he just runs Comet now. As I mentioned before, next patch it's getting a buff in early game, so it's probably gonna be viable again. And yeah, just start E level 1, poke them, and take W level 2, and also work with your autos a lot. And you're gonna see him poke him with his E, you wanna be trying to proc his shield. Your poke with Electrocute isn't that good, but with Comet it's a lot better. Then whenever he gets into his range he just W's him, and he also takes 2 points into W, because he's against a melee champion. It's really effective. You don't need the fear level 3 unless you're scared of getting ganked. If they had like a Xin Zhao or something, I would definitely take the fear instead. But in this case you can just take 2 points W. And the W does actually a lot of damage at level 3, so it's nice to have. So as you can see, he's just poking, autoing. Every time the Yasuo walks up, he just autos him, uses W, and he's almost dead already. So what you want to be doing is looking at your own minions, look at their health, and whenever they're low, you know they're gonna walk up. Then you can punish them really hard. It's a bit harder to do when they're ranged, but any melee matchup is generally like super free to play against. As you can see, you already had to burn his flash, right? Just QW, and all of your abilities go through Yasuo Windwall, by the way, so you can't even block anything. So yeah, you just push out this wave, he's gonna recall. And yeah, this is how you play Fiddlesticks against melees. It's super easy, right? You just, every time they walk up, you QW them, you eat them, and they're super chunk. Against ranged matchups, I couldn't find a replay, unfortunately. But it's a bit trickier. Also, depends on how good the player is. So he grabbed a Blasting Wand because this is like an older patch, and Leandri still built from Blasting Wand, if you're wondering why he has that. As you can see, Yasuo's already almost dead again. He can't play the game, right? Every time he walks up he just gets all of the abilities of Fiddlesticks into his face, and he can't do anything about it. Now he hit level 6, so he's just gonna dive him. Oh, he has no counterplay. Right, and you just keep pushing. Every time you kill, you want to push out the wave, and then you just want to base. And you can see he's also really good at last hitting. Like, he has 44 CS at 5 minutes. Like, last hitting on Fiddlesticks is quite hard, but this guy's pretty good at it. And he's gonna grab boots and an amplifying tome. Now he's gonna run back mid, and also what I mentioned before, he put his effigy into the bottom bush because he's scared of a Nautilus roaming mid. So this is something that the higher you go into the elo, the more you will notice this. Like, enemy supports always roam into mid lane after they reset. So you have to really pay attention to where the enemy support is. And you're really vulnerable to ganks, so yeah, this is annoying. But here's push, but he's just, yeah, see, Nautilus was mid. So that's why he was playing a little bit more scared, and he was giving him the push. So he has his ult up back in 20 seconds. He's gonna slow push this, poke out his shields. He's gonna hard shove. Drake is up, so might be one looking for that. He's getting ganked, but his support is here. So he's actually fine here. Pyke actually saved him really hard. I'm pretty sure he was actually baiting. Like, he knew that Pyke was there and he was baiting the enemies to go into him. And yeah, he just ults flashes because Zac walks up for whatever reason when he has 10 HP. So your ult and flashes are like a really big gap closer as well. And yeah, he's 3-0 now, sitting on a lot of gold. Maybe it's Leandri in base already? No, he builds his Sorc Shears first, as always. And yeah, then he's gonna go Leandri next. So he's in a really strong position right now. He can absolutely snowball this game. He's just gonna keep catching the waves, and then he's gonna keep pushing and completely harassing this Yasuo on the turret. And then after that, he's gonna go into the side lane. So yeah. It's also really important to look at this, like, enemy mid and jungle support. You have to think about their abilities and which CC abilities they have. In this case, they have like a ton, because Zac alone has 3 abilities that can CC you, right? Because sometimes when you get ganked, you can just ult into their face and turn it around, but if they have this much CC, it's really hard to do. So now he's moving towards bot side and putting down vision because his team starts Drake. What you usually see this guy doing is he just stays in lane all game, unless there's like a Drake spawning, right? Or like a Baron, then he's like willing to move. I've seen him sometimes roam if he's like pushed out a cannon wave completely. Oh, he's getting ganked again. So yeah, as you can see, here is what I'm talking about. Like, they have so much CC, it's really hard to get your drain off or your ult off. No, his team is here to counter gank, and yeah, he got the ult off out of vision, so they all got feared, and it's completely over. Even gonna dive this with the ear, so yeah, this game is pretty much over at this point. But he's still gonna do what I've talked about, which is why I chose this gameplay, right? Like, so he's just gonna push out this wave, and then he's gonna reset because he's out of mana. And now what you're gonna see is he's gonna walk into mid lane, and then eventually he's gonna go into side lane, and he's just gonna farm up in the side lane and not move ever from side lane. This guy actually getting interrupted here, which is really annoying. He really wants the base because he's sitting on a ton of gold. We can actually turn around ganks like this really well if there's like at least 1 or 2 teammates nearby, and they can like prevent you from getting CC'd. Your 2v1 potential or your 2v2 potential is really big. It all depends on you getting your ult off. That's the hard part, right? If they have like no CC jungle mid, then it's actually so free to play. So he's forced to stay a bit longer because he got interrupted, but he's gonna recall and TP back soon, I think. He's sitting on so much gold, so he really needs to recall. He's gonna push out this wave, and then he's gonna reset. So he should have his Leandri in base, I'm pretty sure. Yasuo actually picked up a kill, but it's whatever, really. He gets Leandri and another blasting one, and now he TP's top. What you're gonna see now is the mid game entered, right? And he's just gonna stay in side lane, farm up, and he's gonna try to kill the enemy side laner whenever he catches the wave, because he has so many different angles to go from. As you can see here, he actually failed it. because he can go CC immune. He actually wasted his flash there, but if this was any other champion, was probably dead there, right? He gives so many angles to ult from inside lane, which is why he goes there, and then he just farms, tries to get as much farm and as many plates as possible. Yeah, this is what he's gonna do for the rest of the game until Drake or Baron spawns and they're gonna fight it. That's when he moves. Other than that, he just stays there. It's just quite simple, but this is how he gets Dishma, like, he gets really high CS numbers, even on Fiddlesticks, because he just stays inside lane. He kind of plays him like a control mage, right? Like a normal champion. So yeah, you can see he's just harassing this Udyr. Actually might die here. He's not, yeah, he's dead. Okay, I don't know what that was, but you get the idea, right? Laning phase, you try to harass him as much as possible, but also have to be very careful with ganks, and then in mid game you go into side lane, you farm up, and you try to catch the enemy side laner off with your ult, because you have a lot more angles than you have in mid lane. After the map changes, the map got a lot larger, so it's harder to gank people in mid lane, but it's really easy to gank them in the side lanes. So he's gonna play for the turret still. He's gonna push this out. Turret is like 1 HP. He's actually scared of a gank right now, I think. He just sits in his bush. Here's actually just walking up here, so they're just gonna be catching waves. They're just ping-ponging waves right now. Moving towards bot side because he has ult and his team is in the top side jungle. He just puts on an effigy, goes back to top. And he's actually probably gonna be able to pick up the turret here. Yep, he gets the turret. Puts an effigy down. Scouts if there's anyone nearby. Now he's gonna push out this wave and probably ult him. Yeah, as you can see. It's so hard for the enemy to play into side lane against Fiddlesticks. Like, he has so many angles, especially if the first turret is down. Then it becomes even harder. So now he has killed this guy. Kai'Sa actually goes in on him, he dies. He got her cleanse, that's actually fine. And he picks up the Voids of secondary because they have so much MR already and they're gonna pick up even more. Udyr has a lot of MR, Zek is gonna get more MR, and the Nautilus has MR, so this is a completely fine buy here. So he's gonna go back into top lane. Yeah, and he's just gonna push out the next waves again. And he's gonna play for this tier 2 turret, I assume. He's probably gonna play on top lane until the Drake is spawning, because then they're gonna fight it. That's what I would assume right now. And you can also see he keeps his TP up. In case any fight breaks out, he just keeps it. And then he can always TP and still stay inside lane and farm up, right? So he pushes this out, goes into river, he gets a bit of vision. His team actually fights in mid lane, so he's moving down. Drake is spawning, which is why he's moving. I don't think it's that great of a... I mean, it depends if he gets an ult off. He gets scouted here, which is pretty bad. He just ults into the face, which is not that great, and I mean, he gets one. It was fine overall, I guess. His team cleans, but that... Oh, actually they lose it. Well, that was a pretty bad fight because he ulted in vision, so it did not end as great as it could have. His team still cleans, so you know, they're just that far ahead at this point. I think it doesn't even matter. And now he's just gonna TP back into top lane to keep up the tempo. And he also wants to stay around Baron now. And you can see he's gonna ult again. And yeah, this Yasuo is just dead. He actually flashed over the nade, that was really well played. So yeah, the idea is just you push out the side waves and then you try to catch them off with your ult. And you only ever move if there's an objective coming. So now they do Baron. You roll without your ults just to peel the Ezreal, which he's doing right now. You can see it's really easy because his team's so ahead. But usually you just want to be point and click CC bot if your ult is down. And yeah, they get Baron, this should be game over. I think the biggest turning point was the fight in mid lane where he got 3 kills, or like a triple man ult. And yeah, he's gonna go back to top again. Maybe he can catch his Yasuo. He's being careful, unfortunately. So here you want to be waiting until your team is back on the map. You don't want to be dying right now. It would be a really bad death because you have Baron buff. So whenever... Now he walks up because his teammates are all on the map and you can push at the same time. He's looking for an ult angle again and he dies again. So yeah, it's just unplayable. Like they can't play in side lane. Especially because they don't have ranged champions. They have a melee top and a melee mid. So whoever catches the side waves has to walk up. And then he can just ult them. Okay, there's a fight breaking out mid. I think they're looking to end, that's why he's going mid right now. Otherwise he could just keep pushing top. Or they're gonna get the inhib and then move top. Yeah, they're gonna push in top now. Actually might look for an ult. Okay, he missed it, but it was a nice try. So they still have 50 seconds of Baron left. I assume he's just gonna base and then maybe TP. Or he's gonna move to Drake, yeah. Drake is spawning, so he's gonna move to Drake. His ult is gonna be back up in time probably. And now it's like mid to late game, which is where you want to be starting to group a lot more. He's already level 60 and level 17, right? Level 16 is what you want to be going for because then you get level 3 ult. After that you can just start grouping. You can see he's just trying to find an ult spot. Gets a really good ult. Yeah, this game is done. I mean, they're just gonna FF now. So yeah, this is what I was gonna saying. Like early game, you just poke them, you eat them, and then you, whenever they walk up, you try to punish them. Then in the mid game, you go into side lane, you farm up, you catch the enemy off guard. And yeah, this is exactly what happens. So I hope you learned something from this video, guys. Let me know how this goes, try it out for yourself, and I'll see you soon.